kind of provided. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Got it. As always, recording for folks that can't make it, but went back and then revised and then translated a letter that was sent out to you all a couple of weeks ago. So well ahead, hopefully folks that were interested got a big chance to take a look at that, to review it. And so we are here today. We're going to have Jennifer from the city walk us through kind of the changes that were made and kind of reiterate. If you guys can just definitely ask her or myself or Mark on our team any questions. Oh, sorry, Stephanie, and my process-wise, maybe something.
Yeah, I just want to check in. If we're going to go ahead and record the Spanish, we'll want to make sure we turn on the interpretation channel and kind of give those instructions.
Awesome. Do I need to do that?
You know, I think Daniel is here, and Daniel, I think for this the purposes of this recording, we'll all kind of enter into the English channel.
Awesome.
But I think Daniel, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving those brief instructions for all of us.
In English, yeah. And if not, he might actually be in the channel already, so I can just go ahead and do it. If you all can, just so you all know, we are recording this in Spanish. So even though the Spanish, kind of monolingual Spanish speakers aren't here, in order for us to do that, we'll all hop into an interpretation channel so our interpreter can interpret everything we're saying. So at the bottom, the little globe, if everyone can go into English, except for Daniel from Linguistica, he will stay in the interpretation channel. And then I believe Anna from our team will go into Spanish and record. So thanks for that reminder, Stephanie. Awesome. So with that, I will then just quickly re-summarize briefly. We are here today to talk about the next iteration of the letter. Oh, excellent. We have Lilia who's joining us right now. And maybe I'll see if, as we join, I don't know if Daniel from Linguistica or our team can pull up a quick slide to make sure that Lilia can join, or check in with Lilia if she's able to join the Spanish channel before we get started. It looks like she's still connecting to audio. Oh, and Naimeen is here. Hi. Yes, please. Thank you, Naimeen. That would be awesome. So as she connects, it looks like it's still connecting, so I'm not certain if she can even hear me yet. Oh, she popped out. Naimeen, can you help us? If she pops back in, let us know if she's having trouble connecting, or if she contacts you, can help her get connected. Oh, and I see Estella. Excellent. Oh.
I'm talking to the ladies right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you. Well, let us know if we need to stop and get folks into interpretation. Interpretation is turned on. So for those that maybe didn't hear, if you are an English only speaker, please go to the interpretation globe and click EN or click the little English channel. If you are a monolingual Spanish speaker, please go to the little globe and click the Spanish channel and click mute original audio. And so I don't know if we want to repeat that in Spanish or if we know that the ladies, excellent, thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes, Lilia, Estela, bienvenidas. Nada más están repasando cómo accesar la interpretación. Ya saben, el icono que se ve como...
Uh-oh, was that me or is that Naimeen?
Ya sea me mandan un texto o me avisan si no pueden escuchar al intérprete.
Casi no se escuchaba su voz, Nayamin.
Oh, perdón, nada más estaba diciendo que necesitaban asegurarnos que sí se oye la interpretación. ¿Sí pueden oírlo?
Sí.
Ok.
Awesome.
Sí, nomás que ya estaba confundida. No sé si era la reunión a las 5 o a las 4.
A las 4. Estela was just saying that she was confused. She thought the meeting was at 5, but that she's okay. She can listen to the interpreter.
Oh, I'm so glad. All right, so if everyone is in the correct channels, I will reiterate, if for some reason you have to step away or you can't make it, we are recording this in English and in Spanish. So the Spanish line will be interpreted for those if they need to go back or if folks can't make it. I was just briefly summarizing that we've met several times to go over the alternative agreement mechanism between the city and the district based on all of the feedback from you on how we could formalize what the district and the city have agreed to verbally to you all, kind of in letter form, all of the back and forth and interaction between the city and the district regarding land use decisions. And in particular, how we'll make sure that the committee and the community at large is notified of projects specifically within the 617 boundary. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for all the comments that have led to this iteration. Hopefully you all had a chance. We sent it out a couple weeks before the meeting, so hopefully it was lots of time for you to get to see all of the changes. And with that, I will, Stephanie just dropped in the chat, if you just kind of want to see the iterations of how we've got here, you can see the old drafts. But with that, I'll pass it to Jennifer. If there's no general process or questions about process, then Jennifer can walk us through the letter and see if there's any questions.
All right, so that sounds like there weren't any specific questions before we jump in. So thank you all for meeting this afternoon. As Jessica stated, we have updated the letter, and I appreciate any feedback that you might have on it. So really our introduction stays the same in terms of, you know, what we're trying to accomplish, which is to ensure that we continue to have a good, transparent consultation and coordination process with the Air District over land use matters and our process that they provide feedback to us on areas related to, in particular, air quality and emissions. So what we have kind of summarized is that coordinating with the Air District, our staff, our current planning staff, processes, applications as they come in. And so there's a monthly meeting with city staff and Air District staff to really talk about those procedures and the coordination, any potential projects that are within the boundary that the Air District has specifically requested to discuss at that meeting, status of any current projects, any infrastructure projects, and any upcoming projects. So that's kind of a standing item that that our staff discusses with the Air District staff. And then additionally, so kind of drilling down a little bit more into routing, we have committed in this letter to route all minor applications. And so previously, I just said minor applications. We were asked for a little bit more definition of those. Tenant improvements, which would be a building permit within an existing space, zoning clearance, which is essentially a confirmation that that use is permitted within that zoning district, but it wouldn't be any kind of physical improvements to a space. Minor deviations, which are considered adjustments to heights or setbacks that are within 10%. So for example, if the height limit is 30 feet and they wanted to go to 33 feet, that would be a minor deviation. Minor revised exhibits, which would be slight changes to a site plan that doesn't involve the public right of way. So kind of rearranging where maybe parking is on a site. Industrial site plan review that's consistent with the original findings, or standalone environmental assessments. Those are considered minor within the AB 6117. Those would all be routed to the Air District. For major applications in the city, all applications regardless of location would be routed to the Air District. And those include amendments to existing projects, new site plan review, which is establishing a new physical improvement like a new building, a new conditional use permit, establishing a use that would have conditions attached to it, a new tentative or tract map, which is subdividing a property, standalone M&Ds or EIRs for environmental assessment, changing a zoning district or rezone, any kind of general plan amendment, obviously annexation, adding a property to the city limits, or amendments to the development code text, so a modification to the rules of development. So those would all be routed to the air district regardless of location, and projects are discussed as requested by the air district at the monthly meeting. So in terms of timelines, there's initially a 15-day comment period for the initial review when it's submitted. If an initial study is a part of the project, the air district comments will be incorporated. And once the initial study is released, it is also sent to the air district during public review period, and staff would coordinate if there are additional comments. After review, if there was an initial study and there are mitigation measures related to air quality, city staff would or may reach out to the air district to verify compliance or to ask for clarification. So if there are certain things that they were supposed to do with the air district, we would confirm with the air district that those were completed. So typically what happens is we ask the applicant for the compliance documentation, but then we would verify it with the air district to ensure that it is correct and complete, because obviously air quality is not our specialization, and we would need their input to make sure that we checked that box correctly. If there was not an initial study, typically there's not a compliance review after conditions are issued. And then additionally to, this is one of the things I think we talked about a little bit at our last meeting, to further ensure that the air district knows when we send an item to them, we can refine our land management system, Acela, to have flags that if a project is within the AB 617 boundary, when it is sent to the air district, instead of just being in a general bunch of other emails, it would be flagged so that it would alert them that that particular project lies within the AB 617 boundary, and that would assist the air district in sending any information that they were planning to send out to committee members regarding those projects. And then the remainder is really very similar to what we had before in terms of our, in addition to this process, all of the standard processes that are related to other opportunities for public comment for district review committees, implementation committees, ad hoc committees, et cetera. And just, really continuing to encourage this steering committee, the subcommittee and the steering committee to continue to provide public comment through letters, testimony at hearings, et cetera, so that we can make good decisions on conditions of approval for projects as they come through. And so additionally, just as a note, the state is now requiring, and it's actually not in here, it's something that I could add, that environmental documents, whether they're reviewed by a state agency or not, are all now published or uploaded to a state clearinghouse system. And so that's available as well in terms of information to the public. So that's kind of a summary of the letter. Hopefully the revisions are clear and simple and less complicated than the last one, because that was what the feedback that I heard last time in terms of it was difficult to understand, and so I'm hoping to provide a little clarity through this particular letter.
And yeah, we'll take questions. I'll help call on people. So Naimeen, I see your hand.
Thank you, Jennifer and Jessica. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna put my camera off just because my internet is on. So Jennifer, how would you describe that what is in this letter is something new of what your department and the Air District is already doing? Because we really wanted to see more coordination and communication, and unless I'm wrong, I don't see a lot change in this. The second thing is a general question about how we're calling things. The resolution that was approved by the California Air Resources Board on February of 2013 called for a memorandum of understanding. That was that commitment that APCO Samir did, and that's official document, and that's an MOU. So I don't know when and why this document watered down to a letter. So we definitely would like to go back to what is in the resolution that says memorandum of understanding. And then, you know, in general, if you can summarize how what is outlined in this letter is different to what the current communication and coordination between your department and the Air District does.
Yeah, no, those are good questions, and I apologize if my internet is unstable as well. Let me know if you have trouble hearing me. What is different over the past 2 years and what we have changed? So in the past, prior to the adoption of the SERP, the city would notify the Air District of projects via an email. And like any other commenting agency, they would respond with comments, respond not with comments, or not respond at all. And that was the process, period, right? So there weren't regular coordination meetings. So that's something that after the SERP was adopted, we started working on how do we have regular coordination meetings? When do we have more dialogue about the project? How do we ensure that we're the Air District is receiving the emails that we're getting, right? How do we make sure that they are providing us feedback on projects, and how do we ensure that their comments are incorporated into projects? So those are some big differences and big changes. And then I think that probably the most valuable thing going forward will be this flagging system once it's in place. The Air District receives, and I don't want to speak for how many they receive, but they receive hundreds of entitlement documents from agencies all over their district area, not just the city of Fresno. So I don't, you know, in terms of their bandwidth and their capacity to review everything that comes through and to know everything that comes through, I think this flagging system will make it much more apparent to them. Oh, hey, this one is in this geographic footprint. So we need to make sure that somebody's assigned to look at it and to provide feedback, even if the feedback is, no, we don't need to provide feedback, right? But that way there's a very clear assurance that they're seeing it, which may have gotten lost in the past, because, you know, we have a significant number of projects that we receive on a regular basis that are routed, and I can only imagine from every other jurisdiction in the valley they do as well. So,
and maybe I'll just add to that piece that Jennifer just mentioned. It's not just to flag for us to know and make comments. Of course, that is important for us, but it's something that we'll already be doing. But it's for us to have a flag that makes it easy for us to identify and send on to you all, since that was the request. And so that's something the district will do because of this mechanism, is forward to you all any projects we receive from the city with this flag will be sent to the committee.
I see here Genevieve's comment. I agree. Yeah, that was my follow-up comment to what you just said, Jessica. I think I'm glad that you mentioned that will be the case, that once you you receive that flag project from the city, you will share it with us, but I think it wouldn't hurt to have it in writing
Yes.
here. And I think she has the same question about the MOU versus a letter.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I'll help answer that question. So from our understanding, and I'll pull up the resolution here in a minute, but it was an MOU or other alternative mechanism that formalizes it in writing. And so when we first introduced this concept of several land use subcommittee meetings ago, the thought was that to kind of expedite this process, although I think we can all agree it's been a slow but very informative process, doing a letter from the city and then the district, I think to your point, Genevieve and Naimeen, formalizing a letter back that would then commit to, like, agree to everything that the city just said, including how we'll use the commitments from the city to further the next step. So agreeing to, the city says for the district to forward on to the subcommittee, then the letter, and to your point, signed by Samir, would then say, yes, the district will forward to the subcommittee per the, all the flagging that the city of Fresno will do. So I think that's the next step, is that formal, response from Samir that's in writing and is a commitment. Sorry, I'm calling on people. Ivanka and then Lisa.
Yeah, I didn't really need comments back because I think my comments were just edits and not actual questions. On page 1, the last paragraph under the section where it says coordinating with the air district, there should be a sentence in here that states that land use subcommittee of the CSC will be invited to participate in the city air district land use monthly meetings and to give input on concerns and mitigation measures that should be included in the application to reduce emissions and community impacts. Without that, the committee is, even though you're saying it's going to be routed back to the committee, by the time it gets there, it could have been a useful space to have already known what needs to be included in the space with the city and the air district. That was the first one. On page 2, under the section that says during review, it states that there's 15 days for the air district to review. This should be increased in a time frame of 30 to 45 days for coordination purposes because of the timing of our steering committee meetings. This could fall short of that. And then it gives the air district time to bring it to the community. And the initial study, I'm wondering about that one, if it should be required and prepared by the applicant for all applications that are within the 617, so that the air district has a better opportunity to decide, like, or with the steering committee, what mitigation measures should be incorporated. Because I wouldn't want to see it just after review. On page 2, it states after the review. And if there's no initial study that's required, then there still appears that there would be a loophole that would not require the recommendations by the air district or any recommended mitigation measures. So I'm looking at it as, what are those spaces that we currently already see are impacting South Central and how things are moving forward, and there's no period to allow for bringing up what should be included. On page 2, on that last paragraph, under notification to the CSC, that flagging system needs to be online. Like, is that going to be, it's not just the Acela system, but how is that going to be online with the air districts, our webpage for Fresno? If that can be in there so anyone can see what are the concern projects that are coming forward. And then the last page, with page 3, talking about all the ways the community can be engaged. We know right now that those aren't enough. Like, there's no community engagement already with those open spaces. I have been, and if somebody on this call knows who to talk to about making sure that some of those very important conditional use permits, they're being just thrown up on the clerk's page. Every week I have to go through them. There's nothing organized by real dates. I have to go back not knowing where the cutoff was from the last time I reviewed this. Those project implementation committee agendas are not placed on this main registrar's place where the city council, planning commission, or other advisory commission meetings are. When the city had the Granicus versus going back to the current system, there was a space for implementation committees, and now there's not. Like, it wouldn't be that hard to do a drop down so that we can actually know what's in South Central, what's in the 617 area, and give it its own link. And then we can see what those projects are. So more than just flagging it, there should be something that's already in the system that we're using to just make it easier to follow those projects. Because right now, the way following land use, and that's a lot of my job, is it's even difficult for somebody who's used to doing it, right? And so I know that it's that much harder for community members or who are looking out their window saying, what's about to be dug up over there? They still don't know where to go to get this information. So that last page about community engagement, the reason why I'm saying that on page 1 and 2, there has to be some more specifics in there, is because that page 3 is putting it back on the community as if, well, you have all these opportunities, but with those opportunities, we already know there's a lot of barriers there because a lot of it is all just online. And that's still a concern that we fight with every day. And I just named some of the spaces between the clerk's page and the registrar's page that would make it easier to follow. So I think that is about all I have. I can forward you these comments, Jennifer, if that, or Jessica, both of you, if that makes it easier. But I just think there needs to be a little bit more specific in the writing to make this feel like it's a true commitment. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ivanka.
Lisa.
First off, I didn't read the letter for the simple fact that I thought we all agreed that it would be a memo of understanding. So I look at a letter as wasting my time. So this review today was very interesting because a lot of it is basically statutory hyperbole of what they already have to do. I agree with Ivanka on some of her language, except for the word may. I don't like the word may. I like the word shall. So we actually have a seat at the table, because may means, well, we may talk to you, we may invite you, or we may accidentally forget, or our staff might be not competent enough to notice you guys. So we're going to create a missed opportunities. Whereas shall has a little bit more enforcement. If we as a committee say we want an MOU, then that's what we should get, is an MOU. Because there's a lot of things changing in Fresno, and there's a lot of growth that is still to occur, whether it's going to be good growth or bad growth in this community of AB 617. You know, we're going to have a play a part of it. And I know I don't want to walk away from this experience with languages of may, or saying, oh, we agreed to a letter, but all the letter really gives us is we may be invited to a meeting and we may be involved. And oh yeah, here's a little electronic button. To me, that's not enough. We, the community deserves better, and we should give them better, especially from the city. Why is everybody so afraid of an MOU?
Thank you, Lisa. So yeah, Jennifer, I don't know if any of the comments so far, if you have any comments, I will just let everyone know that it's been in this letter form, I think since the October meeting that we've had. So I do hear the comments and the concerns and what I mentioned. Oh, so go ahead. Sorry, Naomi. I think you.
Yeah, well, I would just want to say, yes, I think that there have been other terms tossed around, including letter. And I think that we have repeated ourselves at every meeting that we don't think a letter, it's what we required, or that what would be needed. We you know, yes, I know I pulled the resolution while you were talking, And yeah, it says an MOU but you know, why water it down? If we can, the first thing that it says there is an MOU. And so I don't see why we need to go to alternative B, C, or D when we have the first one. So, you know, I'm starting to feel a little bit like we come here, we give our feedback and they say yes. And then, you know, meetings later, we're asking for the same things, right? So you know, it's worth for us, or at least I'm not going to speak into it, but at least worth my time. I have so many meetings that I had declined because I find this so important for that communities and for our work. But if my time is not being taken seriously and we're continuing to just say what we want or what we think is important, and you know, you guys turn around and do still what you want, you know, then at least to me, that's a waste of my time. And it's like, you know, we hear you, but we don't hear you. So sorry, but that's how I feel.
Hi, this is Lisa. I always thought I was going to be an MOU and not a letter. You could have given me a letter in October, fine. That's great. Give me all the letters you want. But if you want me to sit here and approve a letter when all along we've been talking about an MOU, and this letter, all it did basically is reiterates the planning process. And what does it really give us outside of a meeting with the air district and the city, but we may or may not be invited, and a little electronic notification on an email. That's all we're getting? Really? You know, I really think the community deserves so much more and better from the city and the air district. And, you know, if you guys are going to use nomenclature of MOU, 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 and you send me a letter, I'm not going to read a letter. I'm going to read the MOU because to me, that's what we're aiming for. And I kind of feel it very disingenuous that all this time, you know, now we're going to switch over to a letter format. No, it's supposed to be an MOU. If it's going to be an MOU, guys, let's really do an MOU.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Because I think that's what the consensus of, you know, the committee was for an MOU and not a letter. Because a letter doesn't hold the same weight as an MOU. And everyone in government in the air district knows that. So why are we downgrading the agreement from an MOU to a letter? It's more enforceable if it's an MOU. It's more enforceable if you take out the may language and put shall. And let's really define these, you know, what we want to see in it. Because other than that, really, you're wasting our time and you're creating an organization and you're creating a system of flaws where I don't want to get back into the, oh, I'm sorry, my bad system that we're trying to break here. I want to move forward and I want to be very positive and I want to be very community oriented as far as communications, because there's a lot of things that are going to be going down in South Central and even in the tower that people need to be aware of, and they need to know that there are people watching and are participating in this process. And May language does not do well for that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sorry, I know Naimeen had her hand as well, but you lowered it. I'll let Dr. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I have to agree with what's already been shared, which is the strength of an MOU, because I think about what the purpose was, and it was not to undermine the work of AB 617. And so as much as we talk about how we want to improve conditions and air quality, it doesn't make sense to allow processes to undermine that work. And by not having some stronger language around land use, we basically are, you know, moving in one direction for 2 steps and then going backward 3 steps. So that MOU the idea was to strengthen the language and the usage and the guidelines so that there would be a real departure from what we know has not currently worked. And so what we've done is already recognize that what's currently in place, which is what's outlined in page 3, has not been sufficient. We have a planning commission, which we know we've all gone to. We've all had different experiences, some good, some not so great. But we know that that's not sufficient to hold the line when it comes to putting entities into communities that are already overburdened. So we're trying to really prevent this whole cycle from continuing. And so the whole strength of an MOU was to really make a detour and to strengthen this in a way that would respect not only our time, which is valuable and which we've all invested a lot of time and energy into this effort, but it is really, really disgusting to have fought a battle, won a policy that you think is worthwhile and appropriate, then to come back and have to relitigate. And that's what I see happening with AB 617. We put all these markers in place in order to address concerns that we see, but we also have a process running in parallel that will allow all of these to be undermined so that we're really not moving forward. So I don't see how we move forward without something stronger than a letter that has something more than just the outlines of working to implement a strategy that flags projects to get to us so that we can then be notified a little earlier. There must be some more teeth into this process. Otherwise, this has really just been time spent, but not well spent. So I'm really disturbed that, this is an ongoing theme that we seem to be replaying over and over. And I question what's the purpose if we're not going to put some teeth into this.
And thank you, Dr. Curry. I totally agree. I have a question, not so much, well, for their district, but most importantly for Estela and Lilia. Estela and Lilia, were you able to read this, draft of this letter with these changes in Spanish? ¿Les dieron esta carta en español para revisar el borrador? I don't know if they cannot hear me, Jessica, but was the letter translated?
Yep, it was translated. That's actually why it took us a little longer and why we pushed it out to make sure it was translated and sent a couple weeks ahead of time rather than just a week.
Thank you.
And the city translated it to the city.
Thank you. So there were very minor, I mean, not minor, but there was some specific recommendations in fine tuning the language. But I think the main thing we are having a disagreement here is in the mechanism or the conduit for all this language. So can we move back to what we originally had asked for and was suggested in the resolution? Have we moved back to an MOU instead of a letter? What's the take of the Air District and the city?
I definitely can't speak for the whole Air District. So that's definitely something, and I mean, as you know, I will bring up to my team above me. It's something, a letter or a mechanism, whatever that mechanism that was agreed upon between the city and the district is something the district is committed to. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, I would concur with Jessica in, we feel like the letter that outlines the process and have a regular update on how it's working is a really good, meaningful tool that works with, what happens on a daily basis rather than being a static document. It's a living, breathing document.
I think MOUs are also living documents. I think that, I execute MOUs all the time, and there's all the language, and then there's your like attachment, right? Exhibit A, Exhibit B, where you have all these documents that as needed are adjusted. So I don't see it that if you put in an MOU, it's something that you have to sign in law, and it's not changeable. But as we have been explaining, we think it's stronger, it has more authority, if you will, than just a letter. So I understand this is not a decision that you, well, at least Jessica said she couldn't, sign on. That's above her pay grade. But please, on behalf of all of us, bring it to Samir and say, the subcommittee of the land use CSC strongly recommends that it's a memorandum of understanding with the city, not a letter. And I don't know if you need to take that back to the city, or who is guiding this process. Is it only you, Jennifer, or who can make that on part of the city?
Right, so those decisions lie at the head of the administration, which would be the city manager and the mayor. So, absolutely, we'll certainly take back your comments from today and review those, and then we'll get back with the air district. The city feels very comfortable laying out this new process in a letter, and feels that it's a good tool. And it's the tool that the city would like to use, but I will certainly take your comments back.
And that would be in addition, if we can, Ivanka, I know you said it already. So yeah, sending your comments as well. I know you had some specifics.
Yeah, please let Jerry know that it is actually deficient, because one of the things is also this letter locks us into certain timelines and certain processes that if land use changes actually in our benefit in regarding environmental, we're only locked into what this is, and it doesn't give any chance for real growth. And I really rather have an MOU, because that's what we've been talking all along. We've never been talking a letter. We've never talked a side letter. We've never talked that. It's always been MOU, MOU, MOU.
I'll just add that it's like these specific comments that I made are really just off of what was given to us. I agree with the group that we started with the MOU. We were there late night in Shafter for an MOU. My goodness, that was late. And I can't stop thinking about, as we're trying to figure this out, how we still don't have a South Central specific plan, how this will tie to that, how they need to work in coordination together for any of the specific plans, whether that's Southwest or South Central's specific plans, to strengthen those plans that we already see have pitfalls in them. This needs to go even above those to support those programs, those two plans, where one is in order, one is already in place that's getting chipped away, the other one is delayed from even coming forward, all the while industrial developments are just moving forward left and right. So like everyone has said, it doesn't make sense for us to be spending so much energy on this and it just becomes a document that is useless. So I agree, stick with the MOU. My comments are just specific to really where's the details in these 3 pages, because it's just not detailed enough. You could pretty much use any example of concerning projects that we've seen go into the specific plan, South Central area, and know that if you were to look at what we have right in front of us today, that would not help the environmental justice communities that we're trying to protect. It just, so you could look at any of these examples of these projects that are moving forward right now and to say, well, it's because this isn't in place yet, that doesn't apply. It's still, this wouldn't be strong enough to slow any of that down in an already overburdened areas. So.
So Jennifer, it sounds like you obviously have some discussions to be had, and definitely connecting with the district based on this being kind of the city's letter so that we can review and provide, especially if the mechanism changes, you know, obviously on the district end. To Naeem's question, we'll also on our end talk, you know, with our team about a different mechanism. But in the meantime, taking, you know, not mechanism aside to put your points aside, but in addition to mechanism, there were also processes within the language that it sounds like folks had comments on that I know I'm sure Jennifer will take to her team as well and come back with an update. I'd love to chat. I'm kind of wrapping us up because it is 11 more minutes and I definitely know obviously this isn't the end. We now know, of course, at the very least, we need another set of discussions. Jennifer, do you have a sense of when we might have a chance to have some updates that allows us to translate and then get it back out to everyone for review? Just like a time frame, maybe in the next 4 weeks that we could then, you know, schedule a meeting sometime after, or is that too short of a time period and we want to be realistic?
For me, it's not too short of a time period. I would say I apologize. The assistant city manager was not able to be on the call with me today. He had another commitment, but I certainly will, you know, I don't think it hurts to go ahead and schedule something for 4 weeks out.
Okay, awesome. We will do that with you all. We'll do a doodle poll to make sure that especially interested folks are able to make it. And no matter what, we'll check in and kind of status update. If we don't have an updated letter, we'll at least have a status update on the requests available for folks. Any other comments or questions for Jennifer in particular about the letter while we have her? You obviously all get to talk with us a lot more frequently.
So Jennifer, it's going to be pulled from Thursday's agenda, city council agenda, because I think I saw it on there. Or am I wrong?
So
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's anything on Thursday's agenda.
The Thursday agenda is a
Study.
truck reroute study.
Oh, the truck
Sorry,
reroute.
you're gonna say?
I know I saw something AB 617.
Yes, it's so exciting.
There's so
Finally, I know
many-
they were having some contract, like, you know, legalese issues, but with the, not in a bad way, but just in a legal lawyer speak way with the with UC Merced doing the health study. So I think that's all hammered out and it looks like it's on the agenda ready to go Thursday.
Okay. Like I said, this is the 5th to 6th
I
Zoom
know.
meeting. So my
It's
mind.
zoomed. I think we are all zoomed out of our minds right now. So yes, I totally get it.
So what's next on the agenda? Oh, Jennifer, and thank you for your information.
Disculpe, ya no escucho la interpretación.
Sorry, I might have missed that. Was Estelle having trouble hearing the interpreter?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, Daniel, are we good? Can we get a thumbs up, Estella, if you can hear him now? Although I think we're wrapping up, so that might be.
Estela, ¿sí puede poner su dedo para arriba o decirnos si escucha al intérprete?
Well, I think maybe if he can, okay, Anna can hear Daniel. Well, if basically I was just about to wrap up, so I will just say, and maybe Anna, if you could put in the chat in Spanish in case she can see our chat, we'll just follow up with you all, doodle something for the 4-ish weeks out, and just, it's a touch base no matter what. So document in hand, that'd be awesome. If not, we're at least touching base with each other on kind of the points that were raised today about the mechanism, about the several specifics, and about next steps. So with that, then I'll thank you all for being here. Definitely thank you to Jennifer and to all of you who had great comments, our great interpreter team, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your
Bye.
time.
Thank you.